Hello, everyone. I am your host, Markus Trivedi, here alongside my co-host, Ryan Schlesinger, and welcome to our first ever episode of the Game Time Sports Network podcast. Today, we have a lot of stuff to talk about: the MLB trade deadline, what the MLB is looking like right now, an NFL training camp has just started, and to cover some preseason takes and some coverage about the NFL. To start off, let's head into the MLB trade deadline. So the biggest deal last night, Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez got traded to the Los Angeles Angels for two of their top three prospects. So Ryan, what are your opinions on this deal? And out of the trade, who do you think won?
Yeah, it's an interesting trade because the Angels now they're officially selling. They're trying to make the playoffs for the first time since 2014. And I like this aggressive attack for the Los Angeles Angels because they're not too far out of it. If you look at it right now, the Los Angeles Angels are currently 53-49 after a win today over the Detroit Tigers, where Shohei Ohtani, by the way, went 9 scoreless, giving up just 1 hit, 3 walks. He was brilliant today. And the Angels are now 4 games over. They're just a game back of the Yankees. They're 2 back of the Red Sox. And so they're just 3.5 games behind that final wild card spot, the Toronto Blue Jays. So they're definitely in it. They're competing for a wild card spot right now, even though they're in that tough AL West division where they'll likely finish third, but they'll still try and get a wild card spot. And I think they can definitely do it. That team is very talented, obviously led by Shohei Ohtani, who the Angels recently announced that they will not be trading 100%. And very smart move. They're going to still try to re-sign him this offseason, but most people think he'll be going to the Dodgers, the best player in baseball. But moving to this, Lucas Giolito, it's very interesting. And something crazy that I saw about this was that Lucas Giolito, he was traded from the Nationals to the White Sox. Another time that was the only other time when he was traded. He was also traded with Reynaldo Lopez. So he's been traded with Reynaldo Lopez twice in his career. And 2 out of 2 times he's been with Reynaldo Lopez. It's absolutely crazy with Lucas Giolito. But the crazy thing is that I think the White Sox won this trade because Giolito already wasn't going to re-sign with them. The White Sox are in rebuild mode right now. They are struggling. They're 41-62, 21 games below 500. They're also currently riding a 5-game losing streak. But the White Sox definitely won this trade. They get catcher Edgar Quero and they get Kai Busch. Those are 2 great prospects, 2 of the Angels' top prospects. And that's really helped the White Sox in the future. And they're giving up a good relief pitcher, Reynaldo Lopez. But at the end of the day, the White Sox are not in win now mode. They got a good package, or I should say a good pair of prospects for these 2 players. It's a great trade for the Chicago White Sox. And now, Marcus, I want to know what are your thoughts on this trade because you're a White Sox fan.
Yeah, okay, well, I think overall it's a good trade, and I think it's one of the first trades or signings or just movements as the general manager position for Rick Hahn, a good deal that he's made in a long time. I mean, the city of Chicago has constantly downed that guy, probably the worst GM in the MLB, but made a gem of a trade here. I mean, you're pairing up Lucas Giolito with his hometown in California. I mean, with the best player in baseball, as he'll probably be in the slot too. I'm pretty sure as a starting pitcher for the Angels. Possibly, I'm not sure. Maybe Sandoval takes the second spot as the starting 2 pitcher behind Shohei Ohtani. But I mean, Giolito's been absolutely dealing this year. He's a very good pitcher. I wouldn't say he's one of the best pitchers in the MLB, but he is a very solid pitcher that I'm sure every team could use, as well as Reynaldo Lopez, a good guy out of the bullpen. He's really found a spot there, and he's a really good guy to fill in that starting role with multiple injuries. I mean, Reynaldo's I don't know why the White Sox use him in a later inning position this year, but usually Reynaldo does best. What I've learned is he does best in that position of probably that starting reliever, or like that closest reliever to the starting pitcher position where he's starting earlier. As Ryan's got to go real quick, so I'll take this away real quick. So as for Ronaldo, um, I mean, I think it's a great deal overall for both teams. And as for Ronaldo, I think he's going to be good for the Angels bullpen, as well as Giolito for the starting pitching position. But I mean, I think the White Sox did a great job in this trade too, getting Edgar Cuero and Kai Bush, two really good prospects from the Angels. I think preferably I would have rather had Logan Ohape, since our catcher position is very tough right now with Yasmani Grandal and Sebi Savala, arguably two of the worst defensive catchers in the MLB. But either way, I think overall both teams did a good job in this trade. But I think what we've learned most out of this trade is it shows how hefty the prices will be for the rest of the deadline. I mean, the Angels gave away their two of their top three prospects just for two rentals.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Imagine if the Angels traded Shohei Ohtani. Imagine what the package would be for that because the Angels are giving up two of their best prospects for Lucas Giolito, who we don't know if he'll be a rental. He'll probably be a rental, and then a middle reliever who, not to disrespect Ronaldo Lopez, he's good, but he's not closer material. He's still a middle reliever. Like he's just bullpen depth. So it's kind of crazy how much you have to give up for these players at the deadline. But obviously, the main part of this trade, Lucas Giolito, who is one of the better pitchers in baseball. He threw the no-hitter in 2020.
It is. I think that's gone around in all of sports. But as for the Angels, I'm happy for them that they're trying to make a push and trying to be buyers at the deadline. They're doing everything they can to try and keep Shohei Ohtani in the offseason to make sure he re-signs with them. But I mean, the Angels are trying to make that playoff push. It's very unlikely that they win the division, considering that the Texas Rangers and Houston Astros are right there. Plus, they're 7 games behind. But I mean, you look at the AL East, every team is doing well, but that's also every team. Any team in that division can fall off at any second. And the AL Central is just a non-competent and a non-competitive division at all. I mean, the Twins are 4 games above 500, but still have a decent a two game lead in that division. But I'm sure the Angels could oust the Twins in a best of 3 series.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what the Angels will do in September. It's going to be a crazy September if you look at it. Currently, there's a bunch of guys in that wild card race in the American League. You have Tampa Bay, Houston, and Toronto currently holding the 3 wild card spots, and then Boston, New York, the Yankees, the Angels, the Mariners, and Cleveland right outside in the hunt. Well, Cleveland's actually 5.5 games out, so they're going to have to go for the division because that division's so weak, the AL Central. Then if you look at the NL, my Miami Marlins are in that race. They're tied with the Diamondbacks. Both of them are a half a game out. And then the Cubs and the Padres are still trying to fight. Same with the Mets. Are they not completely out of it? What do you think of the Mets, Marcus?
I mean, the Mets, it's a questionable team. I still don't know if they're going to be buying or selling or if they're really going to do anything at the deadline. They said they're not looking to trade Justin Verlander, which I think hints that they're not going to sell for sure. But, I mean, there's no possible way that Mets win the division with my Atlanta Braves pretty much holding up that helm right there. But, I mean, there is a lot of competitive teams in the NL where I think even a team like the Chicago Cubs won't end up making the playoffs. I think generally it's really down to these 5 teams being the San Francisco Giants, Philadelphia Phillies, Cincinnati Reds, Arizona Diamondbacks, and Miami Marlins fighting for 4, 5, and 6 in the wild card spot. I think the Dodgers, Brewers, and Braves will be able to lock up their divisions. But, I mean, I think the Reds have a good shot at winning their division too.
Yeah.
So realistically, for the wild card spots, it's the Giants, Phillies, Diamondbacks, and Marlins, and then whoever loses the division between the Reds and Brewers. I don't really see the Cubs coming back in that division.
The Cubs aren't that far back, though. They're riding a 5-game win streak right now.
But they are still 6 games back.
They're 4.5 games back of a wild card spot, actually.
But no,
What
6
it says
games back in the division.
Oh yeah, but I don't think they'll win that division, but they could sneak into a wild card spot. You never know. Like
They could.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do at the deadline because a lot of people are talking about Cody Bellinger going certain places. He was rumored to go to the Marlins, but not like heavy rumors. Every team wants Bellinger. A lot of teams want Stroman. A lot of teams want Dansby Swanson. Well, Dansby Swanson won't be going anywhere because he's on that pretty big contract that he just signed with the Cubs.
Yeah.
But a lot of teams want, bottom line is a lot of teams want Cubs players right now. But I don't think they're going to do anything at the deadline. Maybe make some buyer deals, and they'll be buyers, but not buy too much. They'll try to make the playoffs with the squad that they have right now. It'll be tough, but I think they have a chance. I would not rule the Cubs out of it.
I wouldn't rule them out, but I really don't see a way where they're going to make it unless if really the Marlins, Diamondbacks, or Phillies or Giants take any of those four teams, unless if two of those teams take a major step off a cliff, then I can see the Cubs for sure making it into the playoffs. But right now, I think it's a pretty low chance, especially considering that there is a decent chance that they do sell Stroman, but that's only if they find a really good deal. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, Stroman might have been struggling forever since the London series when he was injured, but he is still a very good pitcher in the MLB. But the thing is, though, a lot of teams, especially in the NL, like the Giants, Marlins, Braves, the Dodgers, even, all need to really, really add another pitcher into their rotation because the starting pitching rotation for the NL has cost a lot of teams their games and stuff and some series against other really good competitive AL teams. For instance, the Dodgers and Blue Jays series,
Yeah.
and the Braves and Red Sox series. So those are must. That is a must needed position right now, the starting pitching role. But I think the Angels stole the show, probably getting the best pitcher at the deadline in Lucas Giolito.
Yeah, they got him early too. They got him before the bulk of the moves were happened. I think tomorrow, this weekend is where we're going to get a lot of moves. Not sure about today, but speaking of today, just wanted to mention this. Not a big move, but Carlos Santana's going to the Brewers. Veteran, he's 37 years old, I believe. I'll double check that. He's 37 or 38. Santana's 37, a career 242 hitter. So like not a great guy, not a great hitter, but he does have power. He still has some good raw power. 12 home runs this year. He could be a decent boost to that Brewers lineup as a DH and first baseman. I like that move for the Milwaukee Brewers. They didn't really have to give up too much to him, just a little bit of prospects. But the Brewers are trying to lock up that division. It's going to be tight between the Brewers and the Reds.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and so pretty much to cover up the two other main noticeable factors of the deadline so far, or I guess three. We'll start off with probably the biggest one. The guy you see on the left hand side of your screen, Shohei Ohtani, will not be traded at the deadline for sure. I think I stated this earlier, but to cover it now, the Angels have stated they will not, at whatsoever accountability, trade Ohtani at this deadline, as they are trying to buy and contend for a playoff spot, as they're trying to do everything to keep the best player in baseball on their active roster, as well as Mike Trout, who might not be the best player in baseball, but still a stud. To keep him too, because I'm sure I don't know what Trout is doing with the Angels if he's not with Ohtani. So, and I think overall the MLB does need the Angels in the playoffs. People need to see Trout and Ohtani there.
Yeah, Trout's on a massive contract, so I don't think he's going anywhere. He's going to be an Angel for life. He's signed through 2030. But moving on from the Angels, I
Yeah.
also wanted to mention Lance Lynn because a lot of teams who are lacking with pitching depth and are calling up guys too early are looking at Lance Lynn, who has been awful this year with the Chicago White Sox. I know you could back me up on that, Marcus, because
Yeah.
you're a White Sox fan. But
He he
I
is
haven't.
he has not been pitching well.
I'm a normal person, so I don't sit down on my couch and wake up every day and think, oh, I can't wait to watch a Lance Lynn start. So I've not watched Lance Lynn pitch this season. I don't think many non-White Sox fans have. But he has a 6.47 ERA this season. So that pretty much says it all. But he is an experienced pitcher, and he still does have good swing and miss stuff. What do you see with Lance Lynn? Because it looks like maybe the Dodgers or another contending team is going to try to get him and maybe even use him out of the bullpen just when the bullpen is gassed and they need someone to pitch innings, kind of just be like an innings eater that isn't too good but still has some decent stuff and is still an experienced pitcher. Because Lynn isn't awful. He was an all-star in 2012 with St. Louis and an all-star in 2021, actually not too long ago, with the White Sox. So he's a pretty experienced pitcher, 12 years in the big leagues. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, of course he is a very experienced pitcher. Might not be having the best of years, but like you said, still has some good hit and miss stuff or swing and miss stuff. My bad. And will be probably good in the playoffs for a contending team. So yeah, I think realistically, the two teams I think Lance Lynn could go to are the Atlanta Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm probably leaning more to the Dodgers because the Dodgers are willing to give up some prospects, and plus they have some better prospects for the White Sox than the Atlanta Braves do. But I think one sneaky pick for Lance Lynn, I don't think they'll give any of their top three prospects because they have a lot of good prospects.
Yeah.
But out of a sneaky pick, if I had to go with one, I'd say the Baltimore Orioles could try and target Lance Lynn's. I mean Lance Lynn, because I mean the pitching hasn't been elite or anything, and if the Orioles really want to contend or make a World Series push this year, they need to get another guy in that pitching rotation to take them to that next step.
Yeah, I mean their rotation, it's not a lot of names that pop off the charts to say the least. But they've been getting the job done, but it would help if Lance Lynn could eat some innings over there in Baltimore. So I agree with you. And we'll see what happens with Lance Lynn because it won't take a lot of prospects to get him. So I guess it's about what the White Sox need. What are the White Sox looking for in their farm system right now? What position are they kind of lacking depth?
I think pretty much anything. I think the White Sox have. I think if you had to say their two best positions of depth, it would have to be outfield and second, and like the second base slash shortstop position. But I mean, I guess we've seen a lot of guys who can now play second, third, and short. I mean, you look at like Ellie De La Cruz, who could play those positions. And I mean, generally, I mean, they just got uh the catcher prospect from the Angels. They got some pitching prospects. I think the White Sox do need to add some more pitching prospects, but I'd say they're pretty set on middle infielders. But the only thing is like the corner infielders, I feel like that's easily replaceable and any guy could really play first base. I mean, you're seeing Bryce Harper playing first base now for the Philadelphia Phillies. So I wouldn't say that. I mean, that is a major position need in the depth, first base, but I wouldn't say that it's like something to over exaggerate over. So I'd say really the most important part is getting some pitching and then overall just some good prospects.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at some of the games coming up tonight. You're around the league scoreboard update. So the Angels beat the Detroit Tigers today 6-0. Otani with the win. He goes the complete game shutout. One of the I don't think this has happened in quite some time. The complete game is rare. And Sandy Alcantara, well, this day and age, the complete game is rare, but Sandy Alcantara also pitched a complete game yesterday at the Trop. By the way, that was the first complete game at the Trop, the first time that the Rays have been have some. Let me rephrase that. The first time that someone has thrown a complete game against the Rays at the Trop since 2018, and all the way back when Masahiro Tanaka did it. He's now pitching in Japan. So that was a pretty long time ago. It's been 5 years, and Sandy did it yesterday. But Shohei Otani pitches a complete game. So 2 complete games on back-to-back days across baseball. Pretty crazy to see that. And Michael Lorenzen gets the loss. He's been struggling lately, but he was an all-star this year. The Angels and the Tigers will play their game 2 of the doubleheader. They're warming up right now. That'll start at 4:10 Eastern time. And then the Nationals and the Mets tonight at Citi Field. That's a good pitching matchup. Josiah Gray and Kodai Senga. The Cubs and the Cardinals. That's a good rivalry. The first of 4 games between the Cubs and the Cardinals. Crazy week for the Cubs. They had to play their crosstown rivals in the Chicago White Sox, and now they're playing their arch rival, the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, arguably their two biggest rivals. I mean, I guess you could throw the Brewers and Reds into that mix, Pirates, or pretty much anyone in the NL Central. But the Chicago Cubs, I mean, the pitching is going to be worn down by next week. I mean, it's a lot of games they're having to play. 6 games this week, a 4-game series against the Cardinals and a 2-game series against the White Sox, which, I mean, if I'm the Chicago Cubs, I'm taking a little bit more serious because I want those bragging rights against the fans, against the teams, and to be known as like the dominant team of that rival series so far this year. But I mean, the Cubs have not failed at all against the Chicago White Sox, and for a team of the St. Louis Cardinals who doesn't look that great either, the Cubs will probably be able to dominate them, especially with Justin Steele, their best pitcher, starting out the series.
Yeah, Steele's taking them out tonight, and for St. Louis, it'll be Miles Michaelis. And the final game of the night at 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time, the White Sox will host the Cleveland Guardians. Dylan Cease pitching tonight for the White Sox. We'll see if he gets dealt at the deadline. Do you think he's going anywhere?
No, I think he's
Okay.
the only guy that's probably going to stay in the team.
What about Robert? You think they're trying? I mean, Robert. I don't know if
Oh
it's
no,
Robert or Robert. Do you think they'll build around
Robert.
Cease and
Yeah,
Robert?
Cease, Robert, Kopech. They're not going to get dealt to the deadline. I can tell you
Okay.
that
Well,
much.
that's good that you guys are trying to find your franchise cornerstones, but I think we should move on from baseball here and head to some football. Training camp is in full swing. Marcus, give me some of your predictions, hot takes for the season.
I mean, there's a lot of predictions, a lot of hot takes. I mean, you're seeing a lot of good videos with the Chicago Bears, DJ Moore, Justin Fields. But in the hot take land, uh, you know, I think I'll go with the hot take here. Yeah, this is a hot take. I want to say it's a push between a hot take rant. It could be turned into a rant in a different way, but I'm gonna go with the hot take here. This isn't one of my more popular hot takes, but I'm not gonna go with anything outlandish with any like Super Bowl hot takes or all that jazz or Pro Bowlers because anything can happen. I'm just gonna go based on what I think about the team right now in its current state. The San Francisco 49ers, they will be a top 2 seed in the NFC, yet, or they'll be the second seed in the NFC, yet they'll lose in the wild card round to the New York Giants. I'll tell you that. That's what I seriously think is a hot take. I mean, Kyle Shanahan knows how to run a team. He knows how to make a team good. He knows how to produce wins. The only problem is by come time playoff time, when it's a whole different setting, anything can happen, honestly, and it depends on how your quarterback and your whole team plays. It really depends if every single player is up to play. I don't think Trey Lance is going to be up to play when he is playing against the New York Giants, who I think will play, but any other team, honestly, in the playoffs.
Well,
I really don't think Trey Lance is that guy. He's not by whatsoever a good quarterback, in my opinion. He's injury prone. He doesn't have amazing
Marcus, I think
arm.
we have some breaking news coming in here. I'm not joking here. On Twitter, we have a video. It looks like Justin Herbert's getting carted off right now at practice.
Oh no, actually,
Check
okay.
Schefter. He quote tweeted it.
Oh my God, no, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I said. Did I not say Joe
Oh,
Burrow?
you said Herbert. Oh my goodness. Oh,
Oh, did I say Jalen Hurts? No, I meant Joe Burrow.
no,
Yeah,
you
Joe
said Justin
Burrow's.
Herbert.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, I meant Joe Burrow, not Justin Herbert. My bad.
Okay, well, there's two Bengals updates. First off, Trey Hendrickson, their star defensive lineman, is getting a 1-year contract extension through the 2025 season. But Burrow is being carted off the field. Joe Burrow, arguably the second best quarterback in the NFL, is being carted off the field in training camp. That is massive news. I'm wondering, is he going to be ready for preseason?
I don't know. Like, is this? We're gonna have to wait and see how serious this is. But this is a big deal. I mean, he's going on a new extension right now.
Yeah, I don't really trust Trevor Siemian to lead the Bengals to what I think they will be this year.
I mean, I don't know. We're gonna have to wait for more updates. But oh my god.
Wow, that is. By the way, Bronny James has been discharged from the hospital, which is great news too.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on from Joe Burrow, let's hope that he's okay. I'm
Uh,
not a Bengals fan, but
wow,
I'm
that
sure
is
Bengals fans are not too happy right now.
that's just utterly shocking.
Jeez. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna say one of my hot takes here. I know you might like this, Marcus, but I got the Chicago Bears kind of surprising people this year. I think they might be getting too much hate. Maybe they sneak into the last wild card spot. That's kind of their ceiling. I don't think so. I think next year is their year to do that because they're still kind of a work in progress. But I think that the Chicago Bears have a big year this year. If you look at their team, it's really not too bad. Justin Fields, who has never really had a real target, now he's getting paired with a guy who has never had a real quarterback or a good quarterback, I would say, in DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore becomes a really respectable player. I don't know if he'll become elite, but I think he'll become respectable with Justin Fields. I think those two will make each other a lot better. And then also the running back crew, there's no clear number one, but you got Deonta Foreman, who was pretty good in his time with the Panthers last year. well, after Christian McCaffrey got traded, there was no like clear answer there. So Foreman and Chuba Hubbard were kind of splitting carries there, and both of them didn't do that bad of a job. I think I had both of them on my fantasy team. I don't know if it was on the same team or in two different leagues, but they were not bad. And then Khalil Herbert, who also has some potential. He's pretty young. Khalil Herbert is Herbert's only he's only
He's
20.
like under 25, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
it's not showing me his age for some
He's
reason,
not a
but I know.
veteran. He's not a veteran. I can assure you that.
Yeah, I know he's pretty young, so he has some potential if he could have a breakout season. Maybe we'll see what happens. But running, it's more of a passing game anyway, so they can insert any running back they want. That's how most teams feel.
And
But
Fields is a mobile quarterback.
yeah, Fields is pretty much their running back, so it's not that too big of a deal. But then also Darnell Mooney and maybe Chase Claypool makes a comeback. He's kind of been inconsistent ever since that one like crazy season in his rookie year with the Steelers where he went off in one game. Then he had
Cole
some good
Kmet
games.
too.
Like he hasn't been much after that, but we'll see. And then they got Cole Kmet at the tight end. Nothing special there, but still a decent blocking tight end.
No, Kmet's actually a very underrated.
Well, we'll see how if he can have a
He
breakout year
was good
this year.
last year.
We'll see what happens with Komet. I guess we'll see. But that defense is pretty good too, led by linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. I think this Bears team has a ton of potential with Justin Fields and DJ Moore being paired together. I'm excited to see what that Chicago Bears team can do. I think they can win 7 or 8 games.
Yeah, I can respect that a lot. But so finishing up, I just personally don't think Trey Lance is. I don't think, regardless of how good of an offense Kyle Shanahan can run or how Trey Lance just isn't that system quarterback for the 49ers. He's much like a Kaepernick, not going to really amount to much. Good talent, but not going to amount to much. I really don't think Trey Lance doesn't have that. I mean, he had good raw talent at the start of his career, but I don't think there's been any massive jump or development. And I really don't think he's going to, instead of helping the 49ers or keeping them where they are, which is fine too, he's going to hurt them. But back to the Burrow news. I mean, I react to that under utter shock. But we have an update. It is a calf injury that he suffered. Also, Jalen Ramsey suffered an injury today in training camp as well and was carted off the field. So talking about both, we'll start off with Burrow. I mean, he has been the quarterback of this Cincinnati Bengals and has been nothing but success ever since he came back from that first ever injury he had on his knee against the now Washington Commanders, where he missed the whole rest of his rookie year. Not even midway through the year, but he came back and then he led his team to the Super Bowl. And then last year, a great duel against Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship, where Burrow unfortunately ended up losing. But I mean, the major thing that I'm concerned about is Burrow already has a hurt knee. It's been processed, it's been rehabbed. I think it's fully healthy. But now with this injury, how much is that going to impact him now? I mean, with already a knee that's been injured before, another leg injury, that could be really bad for his future.
Yeah, this is concerning to see what happens with Joe Burrow. But anyways, I wanted to mention also the New York Giants, my New York Giants. I have to give them a shout because I think the Giants might be flying under the radar. I want to know what you think in a second, Marcus, because you're more neutral here. But the New York Giants added a ton of depth this offseason. They were struggling last year with in terms of wide receivers, and considering that Daniel Jones had a career year last year and kind of a breakout season, he started to get some respect across the league, and that was with no good receivers. I mean, his best receivers were Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slayton, who, no disrespect to them, they're still decent, and they just came out of nowhere, and now they're not that bad, but not elite players to say the least. And Jones was still great. Barkley will be staying in New York, which is great news. He just signed 2 days ago, I think it was. Yeah, 2 days ago. But they did pick up James Robinson, so that's good that they still have some depth. Robinson was kind of like the emergency. He'd be the starter if Barkley didn't resign, if Barkley sat out and ultimately left New York. But now he's just going to be our backup, and Matt Breida will also be some depth too. Like, Breida's not too bad either. a veteran who's a career backup, but not awful. And then, anyways, the main thing about this is that the pass catchers, I really like it. Darren Waller, who I heard was looking really good in training camp so far, he looked unstoppable. Nobody could stop him. He's going to be our tight end number one. Then Daniel Bellinger, he was our tight end one last year. He's going to be our backup this year, but still two really good tight ends. And then they added Paris Campbell. They recently added Cole Beasley. Wandale Robinson, who was injured most of his rookie year, he'll get another shot at it this year to try and have a breakout year and make a name for himself. And then also Jalen Hyatt, our rookie from the University of Tennessee. I'm excited to see what he can do in his rookie year. The Giants also have a great defense. They recently re-signed Dexter Lawrence, and they also re-signed Andrew Thomas, who might be the best left tackle in the league. And their defense is stacked. Kayvon Thibodeau coming off a great rookie year. I don't know. I think it's a pretty good defense.
I would still say Trent Williams is the best left tackle in the league. But
it's debatable. It's hard because there's not really too much left tackle stats. But like
Andrew Thomas is a good left tackle, though.
He's really good.
But okay, yeah. Personally, I'll get back to my ultimate opinion on the Giants, but I think they'll be a very good team. I mean, I think they're gonna have a tough time throughout the regular season. I think they'll end up ultimately finishing 9-7, but that's mainly because you look at their schedule; they have one of the hardest schedules in the NFL. But I think come playoff time, the Giants should be fine. They're already used to the tough schedule throughout the season, so they're already used to playoff-like competition. They also have the second best coach in the NFC in Brian Daboll, one of the better coaches in the NFL. And Daniel Jones is poised for his best year of his career. And, I mean, adding Darren Waller into the mix, that's going to even be better. And that defense is expected to take a massive step up. But back to Burrow and Ramsey. So, I mean, that's concerning for the Bengals, too. I mean, this is a big deciding year. Joe Burrow will ultimately have to get that contract sometime soon, as well as Jamar Chase. I mean, he's a big part of the Bengals' future, but T. Higgins, too, he might not be part of that Bengals' future. And there could even be potential where Mike Brown was even saying that T. Higgins could potentially not be a Cincinnati Bengal after the trade deadline. But I find that unlikely. I think that he'll probably be not a Bengal by the off season, due to the Bengals having to give Burrow that big contract that they need to. But, I mean, this is big news. Trevor Siemian is not going to get that job done for the Bengals. And this could open up a shot for the Ravens, the Steelers, or even the Cleveland Browns to win the AFC North. But now the Dolphins, Jalen Ramsey, I hate to say it, I don't want to say it like this, but that's less impactful than Burrow, because Burrow is the QB of the Cincinnati Bengals. Ramsey is the star quarterback of the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins were able to get through last year without Ramsey. They had Xavier Howard, who was amazing and brilliant. But Ramsey is a big blow. He was supposed to take that Dolphins defense to the next step. Hopefully he's back soon. He's one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL, the highest rated cornerback in Madden. I mean, I know that doesn't mean much, but that is that. But yeah, I mean, two very big eventful injuries already in the second day of training camp. So lastly, I want to go to the Atlanta Falcons real quick. Mac Hollins and Jeff Okudah, two guys who've struggled throughout their young careers so far, yet they come to Atlanta with new hopes. They're both of them, their first year on the team. They went one-on-one in practice today. Mac Hollins won the battle. So we'll go real quick to Jeff Okudah's standpoint here. It's tough. I hope Okudah doesn't fail and frail like he did in Detroit. I hope he gets a lot better with Atlanta and is better under our defensive management. But with Hollins, I hope he's a good target for Atlanta. I hope he becomes that for sure guy as Ritter's wide receiver 2, or Taylor Heinicke, who head coach Arthur Smith has actually said he doesn't know who's going to start. He doesn't know who's going to be the starter. It could be Taylor Heinicke. He could make a push for that role. I mean, we've seen Taylor Heinicke as a starter for other teams that are questionable about their young QB. Heinicke is no fluke. He's not anything amazing, but he still produces. But personally, I do think I hope Ritter takes that position. And I hope Ritter flourishes under the Falcons' offense and their weapons, as well as the defense and their run game too. But I think that's going to do it all for us today. A really good podcast episode to start off this channel. Me and Ryan Schlesinger will be back. We'll be posting some Spotify content soon in the next coming days, and hopefully on Sunday night we'll be able to do Sunday night baseball, Orioles, Yankees, depending on schedule. We're not for sure yet. Our first ever broadcast that would be on this channel. But thank you for coming on to Game Time Sports. I'm Markus Trivedi, along here with my co-host Ryan Schlesinger. Ryan, any words?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Marlins Ryan, and you can check out my Marlins podcast as well. This is going to be my national sports podcast, but I do mainly just Marlins coverage over at Marlins HQ on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So you can check me out on Twitter, and you can check out my podcast. Thanks.
Yeah. You can also check me out on Twitter. I'm at MPT Sports 23. Both of our Twitter handles are under our name tags. As well as my Instagram is also MPT Sports 23. So go check that out. Thank you everyone for listening in to our first ever podcast episode. I'm Markus Trivedi along with my co-host Ryan Schlesinger. We'll see you later. Too legit.